Hey there, beautiful. I want to talk about something that I'm usually like the positive Pollyanna kind of gal, and all that is super genuine. But every once in a while, I get in the funk, and it's not like a full on clinical depression. And it's not like I know what has triggered it, like something upsetting happened, and so of course I'm in a funk. But my mood just kind of tanks. And I'm wondering if any of you get that way too. And so I'm on this little journey in the last 24 hours of I'm just kind of fighting this feeling of just, and that's a technical term. I learned it in my counseling degree. Anyway, I've been trying to figure it out, and I did some journaling, and I kind of figured out a pattern I have, and then I've been praying about it, and I've been reading through the Bible and trying to see, where I can piece this stuff together to see if I can understand what this funk is and how I get out of it. And I think I've found some things out, and I found some fun little interesting clues along the way. So if you ever get in a funk and you don't know what to do, maybe some of these things that I'm trying to figure out will help you too. So I just wanted to share. So I don't know if you know like what your clues are that you're in a funk, but for me, one of my clues is that every little thing that goes wrong feels like a major catastrophe in my head. Like so irritating, I can't stand it. So today, of course today, a lot of things that could go wrong did go wrong. So I was trying to clean up my office, and I stepped on a picture frame that I don't know why it was on the floor, but it was on the floor, and then glass just shattered everywhere. And I was like, okay. And so that kind of stuff irritates me when I'm in one of these funks. And so I was just like, okay, just calm down. It's okay. Just pick it up. And my little dog was right there. I didn't want him to get cut. So I start picking it up, and the glass just falls everywhere and makes a bigger mess. So I'm picking all that up, completely irritated, but I know in my rational head, this isn't that irritating. So I just need to calm down and get the job done. Then I go to sit down at my computer, and I have a cup of mocha, and I bump it, and it's not even full, and somehow a lot of mocha jumped out of the cup onto my computer, onto my desk, onto my mouse, onto my keyboard, like mocha everywhere. So then I'm like, okay, it's just a spill. This will probably only take me 5 minutes to clean it up. Not a big deal. Don't cry over spilled mocha. Okay? Don't cry over spilled mocha. That was supposed to be a joke. Did you laugh? Okay. Anyway, but I probably would have cried over spilled mocha, but I convinced myself not to. Then later in the day, we're going along, and our dog that likes to sprint and doesn't like other dogs got out the front door. And we've got a whole system down so that doesn't happen anymore, because we learned the hard way that she likes to run. And she got out the front door today, and I just had about lost my mind because I had not 1 ounce of energy left to be chasing my dog around town. Thankfully, my son got her back, and it wasn't much of a fight, and she got home. But then there have just been things like that all day long where I felt like I just cannot catch a break. And these are all silly little things, which on a day when I'm not feeling like I'm in a funk, are just like annoying, but you move on, right? Because there's bigger things in the world to worry about than spilled mocha and, glass breaking, all that's fixable. So it kind of perplexes me, and I'm like, why do I get so high-strung over these little things that don't really matter and aren't that big a deal? Well, it's just one of the things that happens when I'm in a funk. So I've been reading through the Bible. Our pastor's been challenging us to read through the Bible quickly, and I'm a slow reader, so I've actually been listening to the Bible through Audible. And like when I'm in the car and when I'm doing chores and things like that, I've been listening to the Bible. And I've gotten through the first 5 books of the Bible, which are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And they're a little rough because there's a lot of lists of things, of laws, and lists of people, and lists of tribes, and more lists of laws, and more lists of things you have to do if you don't do the laws right. And it's a long journey to get through the Pentateuch. I'm just saying, it's not the most exciting few books of the Bible. There's some really cool stuff in Genesis. Exodus is actually pretty exciting, but Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy are a little rough. So I've been reading through that. And one thing, I've read through the story of Exodus before a number of times. I love the story of Exodus. And it never fails. I crack up at the Israelites when they start complaining and asking Moses to plead to God that they can go be slaves again in Egypt. And it just baffles me. I'm like, what in the world? Like, really? You want to be a slave again? You were begging God to get you out of there, and he just delivered you in an amazing way. It was incredible. And now you're upset because you want to go back and be a slave again? That doesn't make any sense. And then they start complaining over manna. Food is literally raining down from heaven, and all they have to do is collect it once a day and eat it. They get tired of it. So God sends them quail because they want meat, and they get quail. And then they get tired of quail and they start complaining again. And then Moses spends too much time on the mountain hanging out with God, and they fashion a calf that they decide is going to be their God because they're tired of waiting for Moses to get down from the mountain. And on and on and on. And then they just, every little thing that goes wrong, they want to run back to Egypt. And they want Moses to plead on their behalf to send them back to Egypt because it was so much better being a slave. Well, I'd like to think that I'm a little more spiritual and holy, kind of more like the Moses side of this equation, except for on days like today when I'm like the Israelites and I'm whining over a broken frame, and I'm whining over spilled mocha, and I'm whining over my dog getting out of the house, and I'm saying, God, can you please just like put me back like to last week when I was doing something really fun? Can I just go back? Can I just go back? Can I just go back? And now all of a sudden I realize I'm one of those Israelites complaining and wanting to go back. Well, yeah, I'm remembering the good stuff. Like they started remembering the food they had that was so much better than manna and quail. And they remembered, just different things and being able to have worship at different times and just different things that they remembered longingly as they were slaves in Egypt. And I get it. The 40 years in the desert was long. And I'm pretty sure, as much as I don't want to think so, I think I'd be a complainer too. And then I think about how many times I ask God, I don't understand life. Like, why did you ask me to leave a certain job? Send me back. Or God, why did this friendship have to end? Send me back. Or God, why did a situation change and my whole world fell upside down? Or God, why did I have to get sick? Maybe you're saying, maybe I married the wrong person. I want to go back and do this again. Or maybe you have an employer that you're having a really hard time with, and you're like, God, send me back to my old job. Or maybe you moved into a new home and started all this great stuff, only to find out you had super cranky neighbors, and you're like, God, send me back to my old apartment. I don't want to be in this house. How many times do we ask God to send us back? The thing is we've got a forward-moving God. And thank goodness, because part of that forward-moving thinking is the cross. And the God of the Old Testament is still the same God that he is today, except for we get the benefit of being on the other side of the cross. We get to know that Jesus not only was promised to come in the Old Testament, but that he did come. And he came so that when we go through horrific things or annoying things or anything in between. He finished all that on the cross. So if we go through life and we just try to brush these things under the carpet like I did for years, no, I'm not depressed. I don't get in a funk. I'm the happy person. Well, one, it's not authentic, and two, it kind of dishonors what Jesus did for me. He gave me the gift of taking that pain, taking my frustrations, taking my sins, taking the bad choices I've made, taking the things where I didn't even mean to sin, but did, taking things where I blatantly sin, and dealt with it. Like, all of it's done. He claimed it is finished. And for some people, that's what they need to hear to get out of their funk. And I gotta admit, I'm really embarrassed sometimes because that sometimes doesn't feel like it's enough. I don't like that about myself, but I thought I'd be honest. So I was reading through Lamentations this morning, and if you know anything about Lamentations, it's not really a place where you want to hang out if you're already in a funk. So I'm not really sure what that was all about, but I kind of felt led to read in Lamentations. And then I found kind of this little piece of insight, because Lamentations is all about God's disappointment and frustration and hurt that the Israelites continually leave him out of their equation, or continually worship other idols, or continually kind of disregard the favor that they have and don't really appreciate the gift of the relationship that they have with God. And so, God gets angry in Lamentations. He gets sad in Lamentations. He has all sorts of feelings. So I think this validates the fact that if God can have feelings, we can have feelings too. And I thought this verse in chapter 5, verses 15 through 17 was so perfect for my modern mess princess idea. And that is the idea that life is messy, but we can see our mess through the lens of Christ, and us being his daughter, the princess of the king, and that's what's going to get us corrected and back on course. So here it says, I think this is pretty cool. In Lamentations 5:15, starting at 15, it says, "The joy is gone from our hearts, our dancing has turned to mourning, the crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. Because of this, our hearts are faint. Because of these things, our eyes grow dim." This is exactly how I feel when I'm in a funk. I feel like the crown has fallen from my head. I feel like the joy is gone. I feel like my eyes are dim. Like when I'm fine, when I'm in a better headspace, my eyes look at these problems like spilled coffee and go, no big deal. Wipe it up, move on. But when I'm in that cloud, when the joy is gone, my eyes are dim. They see everything through that lens of kind of despair and frustration and irritation and all that. So I love that it says that the crown has fallen from our head, because the crown, as a princess, that's a huge symbol. And it's not just because we want to be pretty and we want to be a princess. No, we are crowned the daughters of the king. And so the crown is very, very significant for us, ladies. The crown symbolizes God's finishing touch. It really is like the cross. The crown on our head is, it is finished. You are my daughter, and nothing will ever separate me from you. We can choose to separate ourselves from God, but God will never choose to separate himself from us. So when the crown has fallen from our head, if you're anything like me, my next question is, how do I get that crown back on? And one of the things I was reminded of that I had done for a long time, a few years ago, and have stopped, is a gratitude journal. And I resisted doing a gratitude journal because it just sounded too cheesy. Like Oprah did a show on it. Like gratitude's going to change your life. Okay, now like I'm supposed to pray and read the Bible and have better faith. That's going to change my life. Gratitude, whatever. But you know what? I think gratitude and what I've learned about gratitude is it really, I call them joy jots. Jotting down things that bring me joy instead of just gratitude. I like the word gratitude, it's fine, but I love the little fun term joy jots. So jotting down little moments of joy, that starts returning my joy internally. So I challenge myself, and if you are in a funk now, or if you get in a funk later, I'm going to challenge you to find 3 things that bring you joy that you can just jot down in a journal every day for as long as you feel like you need to, for however many days, weeks, months, years you feel like you need to. And this is a practice you can pick up and return to at any time. And you don't even have to have a special journal. You can scribble it on the back of a receipt. But there's something about taking notice enough to write it down that really sinks these things, these truths into our heart. And it also makes us search. So I do a little challenge to myself, and I have a couple of rules. And I think this has really, it expands my thinking and expands my eyes, opens my eyes to the all the opportunities that are around me to see joy and to choose joy. Now, again, I'm not upset over something. If you're grieving, like legitimate grief, that's something different. If you have depression, that's something different. I'm just talking a funk for no reason that I can see. So, to return the joy to our hearts, we have to go seek it out. And to put the crown back on our head, we have to do something purposeful. So seeking out what brings us joy, writing it down, is a way we can put that crown back on our head and say, okay, I see you in my life, God. I see where you're at. So this is going to sound goofy, but I've got a little owl on my desk that wears a crown. It's a sparkly crown, and it's a pink owl. Okay, this brings me joy. And this is one of my challenges to myself, is that I try to find the little things. Because you know what, if you wait and look for, I'm going to Hawaii, or I'm getting a new car, or I get to go shopping with friends, those things don't happen every day. So we need to find joy in the little things. So I love that owl. It makes me smile. That goes down. It's a jot. I jot down the owl. Brings me joy. I've got some sparkly washi tape on my desk. Brings me joy. What do you do with washi tape? What is washi tape? This is washi tape. And isn't it pretty? Okay, I know I'm a dork, but it's the little things. So washi tape is removable tape that comes in all sorts of pretty fun colors and sparklies and all sorts of fun patterns. And so you can put it in books, you can decorate with it, you can make cards with it, you can do whatever you want. And so just getting out the sparkly tape and playing with it and maybe making a card that then I can send to somebody. Joy jot. That made me feel good. That made me full of joy. Hearing the rain on the roof of my car. I love the sound of rain on a tin roof. And the closest thing I can get to that is my car. And I will sit in my car and listen to the rain. I love that sound. I don't like being in the rain. I don't like living where it rains all the time. But gosh, I love that sound. It just sounds so cleansing. That brings me joy. And it's a little thing. And then the next day, I challenge myself to 3 new little things. So I don't say my children, my husband, my home, because those are right in front of my face. And yes, those I am ultimately most grateful for. But to return that joy, I gotta look for the little things. So tomorrow, I gotta look for my joy jots. What are my 3 joy jots gonna be? That's gonna keep my eyes on joy. And it's going to help pull me out of my funk, because I'll start to see things that make me smile instead of focusing on the spilled stuff and the broken stuff and the stuff I have to clean up and the chores I have to do and everything that I can't get done. There's going to be stuff that I have to clean up and pick up and do, and chores that I still need to get done. But if I have on eyes that are open instead of dimmed, then I can look for the joy. So maybe you will join me on this little joy journey